An assault on low-income individuals and families. Well, that's how some advocates from our region describe President Trump's proposed budget to cut food stamps. Now, Dominic Carter, he visited the Food Bank of New York to try and put a human face on this. Dom?
Richard, vital services on the chopping block, and some people are worried, literally worried, Richard, that they will go hungry if the proposed cuts go through. The reflection of an increasingly dire situation. 8 a.m. on East 222nd Street in the Bronx. The food line at St. Luke's Episcopal Church. Father Pierre-Andre Duvert is the rector. Father Duvert, what are you seeing on the front line? Because you are on the front line. What are you seeing these days?
Greater needs. We have more people coming to our programs. We have the pantry every Wednesday and also the feeding program, the soup kitchen, 5 days a week. And we have more clients coming to our program these days because the other programs around are no longer available to them.
Father Duvert, what is the impact of the economy?
It's really hurting our people. One thing you need to understand is that many of our folks, they do work, but they're fighting to make ends meet. So when we have cuts in our communities, it impacts them. The folks that you see, most of the folks who come to our programs are folks who have jobs, but the jobs that they have cannot sustain them. As a result, they need assistance.
Why is the church involved?
The church is not simply about coming on Sundays, and we have great crowds that come on Sundays to worship, but it is also about caring for the less fortunate among us.
Chef Weeks, explain to me what you're doing right now.
Right now I'm doing a shepherd's pie with the potatoes on the bottom, then you put the meat in the center, and then you put more potatoes on top, and then you garnish it with the cheese, sprinkle the cheese on top, and then you sprinkle a little paprika and stuff, and then you put it into the oven.
And you've been here at this church for 3 years?
Close to 3 years now, yes.
Wow, and you do this full time for the church?
Yes.
How does it make you feel doing this type of work?
It's a passion of mine. I just love to do cooking. Cooking is a passion. And it comes all through the family, so I just love to do it.
Are you seeing more of a need for food for people these days?
Yes, definitely.
President Trump is calling for major cuts to social programs, not just to Medicaid, but specifically to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, known commonly as food stamps, a $193 billion reduction in food stamps over the next 10 years. This is the Food Bank for New York, their kitchen and pantry on 116th Street in Harlem. Triana Stampis is a vice president for the organization. With the president's budget proposal, will this increase hunger and hardship in states, cities, and communities across America?
Absolutely. When you look at what is in this budget, what you see is an assault on low-income individuals and families across the country. It is really nothing less than that.
Are soup kitchens, food pantries, food banks already strapped for resources to begin with?
Yes, and that's the other piece of this, is that once you cut SNAP, SNAP is our country's first line of defense against hunger. A food pantry or soup kitchen is the last line of defense. That's where people go when they have no other resources for food, when they've exhausted their benefits, they've leaned on friends and family as much as they can, they've got no place else to go. And so we saw a few years back in 2013, SNAP benefits were cut by about 5% across the board. At the time, an unprecedented cut. We saw an immediate increase in the number of people turning to food pantries and soup kitchens, because especially in a high-cost city like New York, those monthly benefits from SNAP don't get you through the month. Food costs more here than it does in other parts of the country. And not only food, everything else that a family needs to do to keep the roof over their heads and their utilities. When 5% of benefits were cut, we saw 80% of food pantries and soup kitchens across the city report an increase in need, and that need has not abated since. Imagine what we're looking at if something on the scale of what's being proposed of 25% of benefits get cut.
Are we looking at the safety net for Americans being destroyed?
This budget would go a long way to doing that. You know, one of the promises of SNAP is enough money to afford a basic household allotment of food to get you through, you know, to provide for the nutritional needs of everyone in the home, enough to get through the month. This budget would eliminate the guarantee. So this is very much an attack on kind of the basic promises that we have made as a society, and a society of plenty to those who don't have.
Mr. James Harris, you're raising 2 of your grandkids.
Yes.
And you receive approximately, for the family, $400 a month in food stamps. Are you worried about the president's proposed budget cuts?
Yes.
Why?
Because cutting the food stamps would mean that we'd have to depend on the pantry a lot, and a lot of times the food stamps allow you to get the foods just a little bit more nutritious than the ones that they have at some food banks. And financially it would be a burden as far as the money that we have to go in our pockets and spend also, because I'm not on food stamps. My grandsons are.
So it would be a tough situation.
Very tough, yes.
74-year-old Ethelyn Horsford is diabetic and has seen her food stamps reduced.
It affects me because I was not able to get the things I need, which I said is better than nothing. They used to give me 200, they cut it down to 41. Next, it's going to be nothing.
And Dominic, obviously, as you've talked about at length here, it's not just theoretical to you. You've relied on the social safety net before in your life when you were young.
Sure have.
But it takes doing pieces like this, I'm surprised, where you're surprised about the faces that come through. And more than that, just how much on a razor's edge so many of these folks are, right?
Excellent point, Richard, and I mean that literally when you consider the people that we talk to. On the day that we went to St. Luke's Episcopal Church, East 222nd Street in the Bronx, it had rained 30 minutes prior to our arrival. And at 8 o'clock in the morning, as you just saw how we started the piece, that was the line for people to receive food. This is no joke. Folks, and as the pastor in the church, by the way, they're doing very progressive things. Just off note for a second. On July 16th, they involved the police in the community. They're having a big ceremony giving awards to all the different police precincts, outstanding officers. So they're on the front line. And the city, that's one of the programs, while they're all being cut across the board, where the city gives food to give to the community. And it's no joke, Richard. People are literally barely making it. And as the father pointed out in the piece, these are people that are working. Yep. These are not people that are just home waiting for a benefit.
And that's the point we saw. With so many kids that are a part of this equation too. All right, great piece, Dominic, thank you. We come back, we'll take a look at some local headlines. Please stay with us.